What is up, guys? It is Styx here, and today I'm going to be going over the Arc Logic Energy Auto Rifle. This is an arc weapon with fairly mid-tier to good stats depending on what you like, and some pretty nasty recoil. However, there are some perks that can totally wipe this out. Now, before we get into the video, feel free to subscribe. I post twice a week. As far as how you get this weapon, there is an Essence of Failure, which is very similar to the other essences, in that it gives you 3 objectives. 1 to complete activities on the moon, 1 to get kills with auto rifles, and 1 to find an item called the Captive Cord. This item will be shown to you on the screen. Now, as far as what perks are best in this weapon, we're going to start with the barrel and move on through all the perks as per normal. As far as the best PvE perks in the barrel slot, there is corkscrew rifling and small bore. These are the best purely because of the added range, stability, and then the small amount of added handling from the corkscrew rifling. This weapon already has high handling, so it doesn't need that especially. Now, as far as for PvP, small bore is still a good option here, but arrowhead break and extended barrel are your best options due to the recoil increase, because this weapon has a naturally low recoil stat, which means that it needs a lot of recoil from other places in order to make it shoot straight. Now, for PvE, your best possible magazines are going to be Tactical Mag and Appended Mag, with maybe Alloy Mag if that's what you feel like using, but I wouldn't really use that because I almost never reload on empty, I reload beforehand. As far as PvP goes, Accurized Rounds and Flared Magwell are easily the best, because Accurized Rounds gives a flat 10 range, so it just allows the gun to shoot farther than it would normally, and Flared Magwell gives a small stability increase and a large reload speed increase. Now, of course, if you'd really like and you want some reload, but you're missing the stability, you can go Tactical Mag here, that is fine. It's just not what I would recommend. As far as the first perk slot, there are actually a lot of good perks here, depending on what you want to do. Now, for PvE, there is Feeding Frenzy, which is just in general one of the best things you can get here, and Surplus, which is just an all-rounder if you like to have your abilities saved up for when you need them. Like, for example, if you're in a GM and you need to have like grenade-based champion stopping, then you would want to do stuff like this. But as far as that, Feeding Frenzy is the best lower tier activities like Gambit, Strikes, stuff like that. And Surplus is better for those higher tier activities where you're not going to be relying on the fact that you're going to be killing a bunch of stuff. You're going to be relying on your abilities. As far as PvP goes, Surplus is also fine here, but since the entire meta right now is to use your abilities efficiently, I wouldn't recommend Surplus too much, personally. Killing Wind is also pretty good. It's better than Surplus. It gives you a nice little mobility, range, and handling boost for a short amount of time after a kill. But the best perks here, in my opinion, are going to be Heating Up and Tunnel Vision. Heating Up, final blows with this weapon increase your accuracy and your stability, while also improving your vertical recoil. That tags all 3 things that this weapon needs, just flat out. So if you continue to kill people with this weapon while you are in a game mode like that, it is incredibly nice to use. And then there's Tunnel Vision. Reloading after defeating a target greatly increases your target acquisition and ADS speed for a short duration. Aim down sight speed. It increases the speed at which you zoom in. Now, this weapon is probably not as good as Heating Up in this specific weapon, but it is still very good, purely because of the greatly increased target acquisition and the ADS speed. So personally here, I would say Heating Up is the best perk. Now, as far as the second row goes, this is rather dependent, because there are certain builds that would work with different things. So, starting off, for PvE, there are really only 2 perks here, maybe 3, that you're going to want. And that would be Surrounded, Frenzy, Adrenaline Junkie. If you are running a grenade build, Adrenaline Junkie in PvE or PvP, it is fine for a grenade build. If you are running something like Ashen Wake with a Titan, you know, stuff like that. Frenzy is just, you're in combat for a certain amount of time, you get damage handling and reload speed for this weapon. It is a lot of reload speed and a lot of your handling and a 20% damage boost, so that is just altogether very useful. And then Surrounded, when you're surrounded by 3 or more enemies, you get a large damage boost. So this is mostly going to be for low tier activities. For high tier activities, I would say Frenzy. If you're going to be using this in a high tier activity, say you need an arc auto rifle and you don't have Shadow Price, Frenzy, Surplus. That's going to be what you're going to want to go with. Now, Adrenaline Junkie is more for fun here, depending on your build, and then Wellspring just gives you abilities back with kills. This is only going to be really useful in a low tier activity. And when I say low tier activities, I don't mean exclusively like GMs, raids, and stuff like that. Because a raid, a normal raid, you can still get a lot of kills. I mean something where you have to empty an entire mag to kill like a minor enemy. Because it's just not going to be useful to have those like on kill perks. For PvP, like I said, Adrenaline Junkie, situational. Frenzy, also really situational. I would personally not use this because I don't want to have to be in combat for a really long time, because it means you essentially, this is best in a control situation, because you essentially have to be constantly tagging things even if you're doing no damage, because you need to have the perk up. So you just have to keep shooting things. Now, as far as the best perks that I think are here, is probably going to be Wellspring and Elemental Capacitor. Now, people sleep on Elemental Capacitor a lot. For me, depends on the weapon. Elemental Capacitor, depending on what your subclass is, gives you different stats. For Solar, it increases your reload speed by 50. That's a lot. That maxes it out completely on this weapon. It gives you 20 stability if you are on Void. It gives you 50 handling on Arc, fully maxes it out, and it gives you 20 recoil, increases your movement speed when you're aiming down sights if you're using Stasis. Now, I would say the best here is overwhelmingly Stasis, because if you pair it with a couple of the other recoil things, you can get 100 recoil, which perfectly tens straight up. It just shoots straight up. Now, there will be recoil, of course, because it's an auto rifle, but it will shoot almost completely straight up with 100 recoil. I had way more satisfaction. I don't like using Stasis too much. Like, I just don't like the playstyle. I'm not good at it, but I did enjoy using this with Stasis purely because of the recoil with it. Now, that is all for this video. If you enjoyed, feel free to like, comment, etc. And thanks for watching.